chanting. Page 14. Yoso
Bhagava Arhan Samma Sambuddho Sakato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipanno Yassa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Tamayang Bhagavantam Sadhammang Sasangham Ime Sakari Iyatarham Aropite Avimu Jayama Sadhuno Vanti Bhagava Suchira Parini Bhutopi Pachima Janatanukampa
Manasa Ime Sakari
Dugata Panakara Bhute Patiganatu Amhakam Digaratam Hitaya Sukhaya
Arham
Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi
Swakato
Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namassami
Supatipanno
Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami
Handmayam Buddhasya Bhagavato Pubbabhag Namakaram Karomasi
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa
Handmayam Buddhanusatinayam Karomasi Tam
Kopana Bhagavantang Evang Kalyano Kiti Saddo Abhungato Iti Piso Bhagava Arhan Samma Sambuddho Vidyacharana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisadam Sarati Satta Deva
Manusanam
Buddho Bhagavati
Handmayam Buddha Vigitim Karomasi Buddhavar
Antavartadi Gunadiyuto Sunda Vijnana Karuna Visamagatato Buddhesiyo Sujanata Kamalam Basuro Vandami Ham Tamarina Tirsajanenam
Buddho Yo
Sabbapaninam Saranam Kemamuttamang Paඨamanusatitthana Vandami Tam Sirenam Buddhasasmidasta
Buddho Mi Sami Kissaro
Buddhasam Niyademi Sariram Jivitam Chidam Vandantoham Charissami Buddha बुद्धस्येव सुबोधितं नास्ति मे शरणं अन्यं बुद्धो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सच्चवज्जेन वड्डेयं सत्तु शासने बुद्धं मे वन्दमानेन यं पुण्यं पसुतं निदा सब्बेऽपि अन्तराय माहेषुं तस्य तेजसा देखो कमं पकटमयाय तो पिटकना तो अत्यंतं कालान्तरे स्मृतमस्ते
हन्दमयं धम्मानुसतिनयं करोमसि स्वाखातो
भगवता धम्मो सन्दिट्ठिको अकालिको एहिपस्सिको पनैको पच्चत्तं वेदितव्य विज्ञाहीते
हन्दमयं धम्माभिगीतिं करोमसि
स्वाकाततादिगुणयो गवसेन सेयो यो मग्गपाकपर्यतिविमोकभेदो धम्मो कुलोकपठन तदधारि धारि वन्दाम्यहं तं वरधम्ममेतं
धम्मो यो
सर्वपाणिनं शरणं केवमुत्तमं द्वितीयानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणं धम्मस्मि दासो वा धम्मो मे सामिकीश्वरो धम्मस्सं नियादेमि शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तोऽहं चरिष्यामि धम्मस्यैव सुधम्मतं नास्ति मे शरणं अन्यं धम्मो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सच्चवज्जेन वड्डेयं सत्तु शासने धम्मं मे वन्दमानेन यं पुण्यं पसुतं हिदा सब्बेऽपि अन्तरायां माहेषुं तस्य तेजसा कायेन वाचा मनसेन सुखमं पकटमयाय धम्मोपटिगनाथ कालान्तरे स्मृतं मतं
हन्दमयं सङ्घानुसतिनयं करोमसि
सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो उजुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो यदिदं चत्तारि पुरुष अट्ठपुरुषपुङ्गला एष भगवतो सावकसङ्घो आहुनेयो पाहुनेयो दक्षिणेयो अञ्जलिकरणीयो अनुत्तरं पुण्यकेतं लोकसाथी
हन्दमयं सङ्घाभिगीतिं करोमसि सधम्मजो
सुपटिपत्तिगुणादियुतो यो अट्टविदो हरिपुरुषोत्तमः शीलादिधम्मपवर सयकाय चित्तो वन्दाम्यहं
तमरणं
शर्यानगणं सुशुद्धं
संघो यो
सम्पपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं तृतीयानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणां सङ्गस्सस्मि दासो सङ्गो मे सामिकीश्वरो सङ्गं नियादेमि शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तोऽहं चरिष्या
संघसोपटिपन्नतं
नास्ति मे शरणं अन्यं सङ्गो मे
शरणं वरम्
एतेन सज्जवज्जेन वड्डेयं सत्तु शासने तङ्गं मे वन्दमानेन यं पुण्यं पशुतं हृदा सब्बेऽपि अन्तरायामि माहेषुं तस्य तेजसा कायेन वाचा वचसा संघेकं पकटं संघोपटिगनाथ अत्यन्तं कालान्तरे संवरितं संघे। अब हम अभय सूत्र का पाठ करेंगे और उसके नीचे देवता योजन गाथा का भी। पेज 133 पेज नंबर, हिंदी चैंटिंग बुक। किताब
अभय परिक्तम यन्दुनिमित्तम् अवमङ्गलं च यो चामनापो सकुण ससद्दो पापगहो दुःसपिनम् अकन्तं बुद्धानुभावेन विनाशमेन्तु यन्दुनिमित्तम् अवमङ्गलं च यो चामनापो सकुणससद्दो पापगहो दुःसुपिनम् अकन्तं धम्मानुभावेन विनाशमेन्तु यन्दुनिमित्तम् अवमङ्गलं च यो चामनापो सकुणससद्दो पापगहो दुःसुपिनम् अकन्तं संघानुभावेन विनाशमेन्तु। देवता उयोजन गाथा। दुःखपत्ता च निर्दुःखा
भयपत्ता च निर्भया शोकपत्ता च निःशोका होन्तु सर्वे त्रिपाणिनः एतावता च अम्हेहि सम्पदं गुण्यसम्पदं सर्वे देवा अनुमोदन्तु सर्वसम्पत्तिसिद्धिया दानं ददन्ति पद्धाय शीलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदा तावनावरता हन्तु रक्षन्तु देवतागता सब्बे बुद्धानुपत्ता पञ्चेकानं च यं बलं अर्हन्तानं च तेजेन रक्षन् वन्दामि सर्वतो। Now listen to the Q&A session with Dungpur Sumedo done in that retreat last year.
Connected to 1 plus 3G. Connected to 1 plus 3G. One plus 3G, disconnected, ready to pair. Connected to 1 plus 3G.
Being aware of being aware.
So the first question, it is said, there is a happiness, an ease, a contentment not of the senses. Can you please discuss how to discern and develop this?
When we ordain and we take the Upasampada, we ordain to realize Nibbana, which translates as happiness. So, letting go of this, our blind attachments to sankharas, what's left after you let go of everything is happiness. Or you can call it peace. Like happiness, when we get what we want something, and then we get what we want, we feel happy. That's based on fulfilling our desires. And ultimate happiness is letting go of desires. So, the idea sometimes Nibbana comes across as a high kind of, it's the highest happiness. Notice that these words, highest happiness, makes it seem far away. It's way up there. And that's the limitation of language. That's why you can't realize Nibbana through thinking about it. Because you're looking for the highest happiness. So, this is, in terms of translations, or into Thai or English or any other language, then we're limited because language is all about the highest, the lowest, the good, better, best, the bad, worst. It's all about qualities, the comparison, the best and the worst. And so we think when we're attached to language, to concepts, then we see everything in terms of these discriminations words that we have, because that's the function of thought. All thoughts, all languages are sankharas. So, as long as you try to think your way to Nibbana, you'll never find it. Because thought, the aim is letting go of sankharas, not finding the best sankharas. So Nibbana isn't like the best sankhara you can get. It's not like a happiness that you get because you want something and you get what you want. It's dhammachat, it's natural. It's Dhamma. So everything, notice when I'm talking how everything, through reflecting on all conditions are impermanent. Sape sankharanita. So as I've said before, that includes everything. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, believing, opinions, views. And then mindfulness is the awareness of opinions, views, thinking, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. So mindfulness or consciousness isn't a sankhara in terms of unattached consciousness, or the vinyanang anidasnang anandang sapado pabang, which is the consciousness without attachments, that's not conditioned by the senses. So we have sensory consciousness, so that's what we identify with. Out of avijja, ignorance, we identify with the sense experiences. So this is a body sitting here, I identify with it because I feel it, it's sensory, it's a very sensitive form, human physical body. And it's visible, I can watch it, observe it, can smell it. And so, that seems more, on the terms of worldly dhammas, the body does seem like it's me and it's ultimately me. But notice the awareness of the body. The body's not aware of itself. It's just sankhara, phenomena, empty phenomena. So what isn't an empty phenomena? An empty phenomenon at this moment is awareness, consciousness. It's not empty, doesn't have a beginning or ending, apparent here and now, timeless. It's Dhamma, it's reality. So when in England or in Thailand, wherever you go, you talk about Nibbana as an attainment. So somebody has attained Nibbana, and that's like an attainment. Just that English word, attainment, is gives you a sense of you've got to get something you don't have. You're missing something. You're missing Nibbana. You're not enlightened. You've got to, and you read the scriptures and you hear about Nibbana, you hear about enlightenment, and concentration practice, getting concentrated, that create this sense of wanting to get something that you've read about or somebody has talked about, that you believe in, that you don't have now, that you imagine that if you practice meditation you'll get it in the future. So Nibbana is something in the future, and if someone who's attained Nibbana has it got something, the very best that you can ever get. But in terms of Dhamma, you don't attain. Meditation is all about letting go, not about attaining. Abandoning, relinquishing, letting go. It's like the second noble truth, the insight into the three kinds of desires, to let go. Not to attain nibbana by letting go, but letting go of desire. And what's left? When you're aware, when you're attached to conditions, when you're attached to yourself as a separate person, when you're attached to yourself as a physical body, the sense of me and mine is very strong. But it's thinking, isn't it? We have to think. To be a person, we have to grasp our thoughts, our memories, our views and opinions. If we let go of sankharas, let go of memories, views and opinions, the identity with the body, not that we get rid of them. It's not an annihilation or a destruction of anything. So it's not, trying to destroy sankharas, but seeing the suffering involved in clinging to them out of ignorance. So through this is where you trust your awareness, because it's the knowing in the present moment. It's like this. So you can be aware if you're obsessed with certain fears or thoughts or doubts or whatever. You ask questions, you want to know the answers. You want to have answers to the questions, solution to the problems because of the thinking process. But if you trust your awareness, you can be aware of thinking is like this, or doubting is like this. And through this way of reflecting, you see you have insight into the dukkha you create through attachment to desires to get rid of things, desires to attain imaginative images of perfection, and the desire to get rid of sensual desires. So I always found that, in terms of how oftentimes Dhamma is presented as attaining stream entry, attaining arahantship, attaining nibbana, I find this quite misleading to, think, because for the insights I've had, it's not about attaining. It's about letting go of what you're holding on to. So you don't get anything, you don't get nibbana or arahant, or it's not about getting something that's missing, or far away, or too high. That's the thinking process. Nibbana is very high. I'm still on a coarse level of sensory desires and fears, and you see yourself, create yourself as a person with fears and sensual desires, and still get angry, and when you start thinking about yourself as a person, as a physical being, as a separate being, then the critical mind tends to see as I'm only this unenlightened, confused being sitting here trying to get samadhi, trying to get rid of my defilements. So I'm challenging you to see, this is a self-creation. You're creating this through thinking. And then trusting in awareness, this continuous, reminding you, because ultimately you've got everything, you're perfect. Your true nature is awareness, consciousness, which is impersonal, deathless. So you don't have to get rid, you don't have to get something that you don't have. It's already here and now, but we don't notice it because we're so obsessed with our defilements, our thoughts, our desires. So, like in meditation, it's investigating desire, beginning to see what is aware of desire, of Gamadana, sensual desire. What is it that's aware of wanting to get something, wanting to attain Nibbana? Because you have to think, I want to get something I don't have. Because we create ourselves always with these negative perceptions, these conditions, that are changing, that are anatta, non-self. So to think of oneself as perfect, as a person, that's not it. Nothing wrong with me, I've got everything. Everything can be, another form of self, a kind of overestimating or narcissistic views about yourself and the world. But that's a thought too, that I'm perfect. There's nothing wrong with me. But that's still thinking. So when I give this message that you are perfect, it's not to be grasped on a personal level, as a separate individual. Your body's perfect, your thoughts, your emotions, all these are perfect, and desires are perfect. Through awareness, we're seeing the suffering, the trilakkhana, the three characteristics of phenomena, that their nature is unsatisfactory, it's dukkha, it's impermanent, it's constantly changing. And it's anatta, it's not any kind of permanent self-possession. It's a permanent identity as a condition. Because you see yourself in different, when you're feeling healthy and everything's going well, you see yourself in one way. When you're sick and depressed, you see yourself in another way. What is the self that you create? The sick, depressed self, or the elated, successful self? The self-view of this Sakya Ditti is changing. It rises and ceases. But I found it quite helpful to reflect that perfection, Dhamma is perfect, whole, complete, no lack. So when we take refuge in Dhamma, Dhammang saranang gacchami, that's what we are. That's reality, ultimate reality. And then, when we chant Buddha Dhammang saranang gacchami, we think of it as me, this person, this physical being here is taking refuge in the ultimate reality. But no, it's Bhutang Saranang Gacchami is the first one. which is mindfulness. Buddho, Buddha, in this sense we're taking refuge in awareness, in mindfulness. The Thai translation Puru is the definition in Thai of Buddho, of Buddha. But Puru is not quite right because there's no Pu. There's just Ru. There's just knowing. So Buddha is knowing here and now. Not knowing about things, like knowing everything about everything, like when we think of God as an omniscient, in the Christian sense that God knows everything about everything. So that's when we think of God as some separate force high above us that knows everything and what we're thinking, all the 7 billion human beings on the planet, plus all the cats and dogs, pigs, cows, horses. Who wants to know all that? Do we have? It would be a mess if we knew everything about everything. So it's knowing here and now the way it is. All conditions are impermanent. They're unsatisfactory. The unsatisfactory things are the body. It's unsatisfactory. It's born, it grows up, gets old and dies. It gets sick. It's subject to so many things, to diseases and accidents and starvation and abuse from others and wars and so forth. So the body's not nibbana. You try to seek nibbana through seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, feeling. These are all subject to change, the conditions that are beyond our control. In the universe, the stars in the sky, the location of the planets, the sun and moon, how many forces in this universe affect us all the time, these physical bodies, what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, think, feel. What is it? It seems too much to consider, too much to know. So in taking refuge in Buddha and Dhamma, and taking refuge in awareness, we realize Dhamma, the perfection. Because all these conditions arise and cease and change, but our true nature is this awareness. This is the gate, the door to the deathless. This is the escape hatch, mindfulness from the power and influence of our mental states, our mental conditioning, our physical conditioning. So like aparuta desang amatasa taura, the gate to the deathless is open. And when the Buddha was enlightened, he made this pronouncement. The gate to the deathless is open. What is the gate? And then it's awareness, mindfulness. So these words, mindfulness, awareness, consciousness, they're words in themselves. But this is, at this moment, you're conscious. Each individual being in this room is experiencing the same consciousness. But the conditions, the physical conditions, like what I'm feeling right now and what you're feeling right now, are different. But the unity, the Dhamma, the deathless reality, is unitive. It's where we realize perfection, realize Dhamma, not in the conditions that we are experiencing through the senses, through the body.
The next question is how to reconcile intuitive awareness and the notion of free will and having to make decisions in the world, in life.
Well, that's like I've found in experience that like having to make decisions, solve problems, answer questions, and you could see in so much of my life just wanting an answer to every question, wanting to make the right decision, solve the problems. And then in meditation, we're not trying to solve problems or answer questions anymore or make decisions. We're just trusting in awareness. Then the decisions, answers to worldly problems can manifest for us without us, just arbitrarily trying through thought, through preference, through prejudice, trying to answer questions or solve problems. We're conditioned, the whole sense of the personality, the Sakkaya is all about condition. It's programmed. It's not really what you are. It's how you've been programmed. How much free will do we have with the programs we've acquired when we depend on just making arbitrary decisions through the senses, through the thought process, through our personal biases, personal preferences. Is there free will on the Sakkaya level? And when you start observing your personality, it's so conditioned, it kind of, especially as you get older, you find you're thinking the same old boring thoughts you thought when you were young. You've got, I used to wonder when I turned 30, I was in Malaysia, in Sabah, in the Peace Corps, and I was so utterly bored with myself by the age of 30. I thought, I'm still have emotions like a child. I'm supposed to be grown up. The perception of 30 then was that you're an adult, or you're really grown up. Now I think of 30 as being a mere child. But at the age, when I reached that age, I remember thinking, am I going to have to live 30 more years just regurgitating the same old habits, these same old emotions, these kind of boring thoughts, just conditioned reactions, like the pushing the button and on the computer and you get the letter A and so forth. It's programmed. So the personality, elderly people notice how they oftentimes repeat themselves endlessly. Because, that's how they're programmed to do it. You say this and they say the same old thing every time, and you hear yourself doing that. Where what is free is awareness, because it's not programmed, it's not conditioned. So like intuitive, oftentimes right decisions are made through intuition rather than through reason and logic. And I remember in university as an undergraduate taking a course in algebra, and one time trying to solve a particularly difficult equation, and I kept exploring it and trying to solve it, and I couldn't get anywhere. So I gave up, I stopped. And the next morning I had the intuition to solve the equation. It just came through, not through me willing myself to do it, through thinking and me trying to get the right answer, the right result, but letting go of myself for a while till something else happened, intuitive intelligence, wisdom. So wisdom then, and awareness is universal intelligence. It's not just a dull state, a kind of zombie-like emptiness. But it's so close to us that we don't see it. Just like, are you aware? And of course you know you're aware. It's that close, knowing. But we tend to see knowing as personal knowing. I know, Ajahn Sumedho, I know, I'm aware. It's me that is the knowing. But as you realize that when you let go of the sense of me and mine, the illusions of yourself as a physical body, as a personality, the knowing is non-personal. Like as a person, I can know about all kinds of things, because I've been educated and I've traveled and so forth. So, but this kind of knowing, ultimate knowing, awareness, consciousness, isn't personal. Isn't dependent on whether I'm educated or illiterate.
When the mind is silent and awareness is aware of awareness, should one just rest the mind in awareness, or should one use the silent mind to investigate anicca, dukkha, anatta?
Just trust your awareness. Like the nature of consciousness is silent. And so, I've heard I think it was John Cage, a musician, said he liked certain sounds, but the ultimate was the silence, when there was no sound. The sound of silence, but when you start experiencing that, when you begin to recognize it, like being aware of being aware, many people get frightened by it because emotionally we're programmed for not for silence, not for awareness. We're programmed for romance, adventure, excitement, for extremities, for elation, for depression. Emotions are about, have qualities. And I remember when I first had the insight into silence, I had a strange reaction to it. I had a profound insight into silence. But emotionally, I said, I can't do it, it's impossible. I found myself throwing myself on the floor, crying, saying, I can't do it, it's too much. And at the same moment, I had this sense of watching this body on the floor, the kuti, crying, saying, I can't do it. Like it was an out-of-the-body experience, but there was a kind of knowing. But the habit formation, the personality, was conditioned for knowing about things. You know, one wanted permanent silence and permanent happiness. And, you know, when I first started meditation, I just wanted to be blissed out, to attain a state of bliss and just stay there forever. And so when I started meditation in Wat Mahatat, section 5, you know, about the second or third day, I was teaching English at the Thammasat University, so I could, you know, it was easy for me to, in the morning, to go and teach there, and then cross the street from Wat Mahatat, from Thammasat to Wat Mahatat. And they gave me a place where I could sit in meditation. And I was sitting there, and this is, you know, I just was learning this technique that they taught there. And I was sitting there in the silence, and, you know, I was trying to watch the rise and fall of my belly, my stomach, was their technique. And then somebody slammed the door. And I heard this bang, and I went into this state of bliss. You know, so that was, I felt this sense of bliss. And just hearing this sound of the door slamming, and, you know, the next day I went back, sat in the same place. Nobody slammed the door. And I had, you know, I was wanting to have this bliss that I remembered the previous day, you know, because, you know, this grasping, this tendency with insight, you know, we all go through it. We have insight, and then we remember, you know, we think that was a really good meditation. I had a really profound insight. And then we create a memory, and a very beautiful memory. We want to have it again. We grasp the memory. And that's why in its awareness, you know, recognize grasping memory out of ignorance is dukkha, is suffering. The first day when they slammed the door, I was not grasping any memories. And I don't understand how slamming a door could put me into this blissful state. Because I certainly wasn't getting it through watching the rise and fall of my belly. I wasn't getting any bliss out of that. But what was it? I don't know. But the conditions, you know, but it was you know, it happened spontaneously. It wasn't like I was holding on to some desire to get it or some memory. So when the mind is, when you experience silence, recognize it, kind of feel this is ultimate reality. This silence, this awareness, where the non-grasping. So it's like I used to instruct people to kind of wide to it, like respecting it, or, you know, it's like being with what you love the most is this awareness, this Dhamma, this reality. So even though it's silent and empty, you abide in it, but then thoughts start coming, and so forth, then don't try to get rid of them. Don't try to hang on to the silence as a memory. But abiding in the silence, you have perspective on the vipaka karma that arises in, so memories or emotions or thoughts or doubts will arise. But your relationship to them is knowing they are what they are, they're sankharas arising, ceasing. You remain the knowing rather than the judge or the person taking an interest or being repelled by what the thoughts or memories what their quality might be.
How do we know that we're making progress in developing awareness?
How do we know we're making progress? This idea of progress is a sankhara. So if you're looking for progress, be aware of that. Because on a personal level we want to progress. In modern life we're so believing in progress. We talk about progress all the time. We want, progress is like an inhalation. It can go so far, and then it goes the other way. Degeneration, where awareness is aware of progress and degeneration. Just like you're aware of the inhalations like this, and you can't inhale eternally. It reaches a peak where you can't inhale anymore, which makes the condition for exhaling. Just that pattern alone, the anapanasati, is a paradigm, a pattern for all conditioned phenomena. So when we think of progress, we're more or less thinking in terms of personal attainments and achievement. So encouragement is to see that it's not about progress, but trusting awareness. And as you recognize the value, the liberation through awareness, which is with you all the time, is not something that you have and then don't have. It's learning to trust it. And then, the idea of progress or degeneration are just more or less concepts or ideas or, the thinking mind, trying to comment on, trying to feel that we're getting somewhere, we're not getting anywhere. So even if you're sitting in meditation and you feel you're not progressing, that is a thought. I'm not progressing in my practice. Or you think, my practice is degenerated. I don't have the samadhi I used to have. That's another thought, isn't it? That's a thinking process. So that's why encouragement is to recognize these are thoughts that we create from sakyaditi, from this ego, from the sense of a separate self, about progress or degeneration or improving or not improving or getting stuck or any way you want to think it or believe it. But what you trust is the awareness of the thought, the feeling. All conditions are impermanent. Dhamma is not personal. It's not about me as a separate entity, as a permanent, separate physical entity, separate from the rest of the universe and the world.
The next question refers to something Luang Por Chah wrote to you when you were in England about not moving forward, not moving backward, not standing still. So where are you? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, Luang Por Chah sent me this note when we were living in Hampstead in the first or second year in London, the Hampstead Vihara. And Santajito, who some of you might know, he died a couple of years ago. He was an American monk who disrobed in England when he came to live with me. But he was the bearer of this note, and Santajito had a very obvious kind of handwriting script. So before Santajito left Thailand, I guess Luang Por Chah had him write out this message on this note paper, just a scrap of paper. And I still have this paper. I've preserved this paper about Sumedho, what will you do if you can't go forward, can't go backward, can't go up or down? What do you do? So this is, I felt, this is Luang Por Chah's, teaching me. What do you do? When you have to think about, can you take a step toward yourself? Can you walk toward yourself or behind yourself? Can you, jump? Can you go up or down when you can't move? In terms of a physical movement, you can't walk toward yourself. You can't see your own eyes. But you're seeing, because it's a function of the eyes. The function of the citta, or the consciousness, doesn't move. It isn't about moving backward, forward, up or down, or sideways. So it's called the unshakable. What isn't anicca, isn't dukkha, isn't anatta, is awareness. The unshakable deliverance of the heart is the aim, is nibbana, or realization. Unshakability. Now, emotions are very shakeable, as we all know. One can be elated one moment and depressed the next. Emotions are all over the place. And, we can cling to ideals. So we find, clinging to ideals, principles, high standards, is a kind of safety, a sense of stability through our clinging to these superlative creations. But then we're not aware of what we're clinging. We're clinging to something that doesn't have any life in it. That is just some, condition, some sankhara at its very best. And it's mental, so it doesn't feel anything. So when you're insulted, or you lose your job, or you're beloved cat dies, all the ideals don't really solve any kind of emotional feelings or results, because ideals don't have emotions. But these forms, these physical forms, is all about feeling, it's sensitivity. So, like political idealism in my lifetime, just like communism was, is based on ideals, on how things should be. So like the Marxian, intellectually it's very interesting, Marx's teaching, Karl Marx's teaching about communism. Intellectually it's very, interesting, and ideally we can, agree that that's the way things should be, equality, no rich, no poor, everybody's the same. And, it's based on the ideal of sharing wealth and making everybody so that there's no rich or poor, everybody's equal to everyone else. And then we see, imposing an ideal on a mass of people, like what happened in the Soviet Union. It's a brilliant ideal, but it is an ideal, it doesn't feel anything. So one had to use tyrannical methods to try to impose this ideal on people who resisted it. So, and then getting back to the law of karma, to do good, you receive good. If you use a good means, then you get a good result. If you're going to, if you're going to have the perfect society based on communist ideals, you have to use benevolent means. If you use tyranny to force ideals down someone's throat, they experience tyranny, they don't experience the ideals. Like with sila, for example, I might have good intentions, and I say, you've got to take the 5 precepts, and I keep shoving them at you and tyrannizing you with my orders and commands that you keep the 5 precepts. What you're going to feel emotionally is tyranny. You're being pressured, forced. Even though 5 precepts is skillful and good, but the means of informing is tyranny. It's lack of respect for the individual. And it's me, Ajahn Sumedho, forcing my views about morality on you. And what is the result as you feel frightened, tyrannized, resistant, rebellious? Even though what I'm trying to force on you in itself is wholesome. This is what feeling is like, we say, we talk about love and how we should love each other, and then but if you don't believe what I say, or you don't go along with what I want you to, then I don't love you anymore. What kind of, that's conditioned, if you obey me and do what I want, then you get my love, but otherwise you don't. That's not metta, that's conditioned kind of blackmailing, kind of intimidating somebody. So you can use love and morality and all these high-minded concepts to tyrannize people. And that's why the law of karma is such a good reflection. If you want to have a good result, you have to use the good means. If you want peace, you have to use peaceful means. you're not going to get peace through making war or violence. So we talk about peace all the time in the world, but we make, so trying to get rid of the people that don't want to be peaceful in the way we want them to is no way to realize peace. And of course, as I've said before, we realize peace is our true nature. It's not something that, and it awakens the sense of peace in individuals is a gentle process, not a tyrannical one.
You say we are conscious all the time. So what happens when we're asleep?
What happens when we're asleep? Do you die when you're sleeping? Are you dead? So like waking, we're awake now, and we have, our senses are operating, you're seeing, you're listening, and so forth, you're feeling. The senses have their objects. But when you're asleep, there are no, the senses are asleep. They have no objects, but there's still consciousness. You don't die and then be reborn in the morning. So, like sleep consciousness is very restful. If you had good sleep, deep sleep, you feel very rested. We love sleep. We love to sleep. Because then, we're not being irritated by objects of senses. But in the awakened state, we're always having, this constant impingement on seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. We're always thinking, judging, criticizing, liking or disliking. This is exhausting because it takes a lot of effort and energy. So when we go to sleep, the senses don't operate anymore. Your eyes are closed, you're not listening to sounds or smelling odors or, getting caught up in thoughts or emotions. Everything's at rest. So it's peaceful. And then we dream. And dreams are, they're images. And of course the dreaming state is, it doesn't have the certainties of the waking state where we're conditioned for the waking state. The dream state you can travel all over the universe in a dream, or but you're still conscious. The consciousness is working, but the senses, there's just thinking and imagining taking place. Then in the waking state, there's you're feeling, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. I remember as a samanera in Nong Khai, I used to have these dreams. When I was in Nong Khai, I'd go into a coffee shop and I'd order some beautiful pastry. And then, I'd wake up before I could eat it. And I used to wish I could stay with the dream state, because, I wasn't getting pastries in the monastery. This was like tasting this, eating this delicious pastry would have been quite enjoyable in the dream. So consciousness is not, isn't about, oftentimes this waking state is referred to as illusory, because it's changing. And in the dream state, definitely, it's illusory. But there's conditions operating. You're always somebody doing something or saying something, going someplace. But it's imagery. It's not a real person. It's a dreamed person. Then in the waking state, this is where we meditate and is being awake and aware, but we're still caught in the illusions of ourself as these forms. That's what the illusion, what it means. This is the realm of illusions, because we believe we are the body, the emotions, the thoughts, the memories. So to wake up from this illusion is not to annihilate the conditions, but to be aware all conditions are impermanent. Dhamma has no separate personal quality at all. Dhamma is unitive, whole and perfect.
What is bhavana?
What is bhavana? That's the word, that's a Pali word. We say, in Theravada Buddhism, we talk about dana, sila, bhavana as a path. Dana, as I was saying before, is a generosity and unselfish generosity. Sila is morality through responsibility through action and speech. Bhavana is meditation. And so the word bhavana really means developing the Eightfold Path. So Luang Por Chah used to say, bhavana begins with stream entry, with awareness of the path. Which is interesting, because we all think we're meditating and through concentration practices, which is generally assumed to be bhavana. But I'm not quite sure myself, but bhavana, in this sequence of dana, sila, bhavana is through this foundation of dana, of generosity, unselfish sharing what we have with others. Then the sila, taking responsibility for action and speech. That's the foundation for developing the path, which is mindfulness. And it's interesting, to see like the first sermon of the Buddha was to the 5 disciples, who were colleagues, friends of the ascetic Gautama, who developed all kinds of concentration practices, but who had still not been liberated, because the basic illusion of a self was still unchallenged. So no matter how much, refined concentration you get through the delusion of a separate self, it's still not developing the path, where the path is seen through breaking through the illusions of sakya ditthi, the self-view, silabbata paramasa, the cultural, social conditioning, and vicikicca, the doubts that come through heedlessly, blindly grasping the thoughts.
संक्षेप में इसका अनुवाद करते हैं, बिल्कुल संक्षेप में। पहला प्रश्न था कि आप ऐसे सुख की बात करते हैं जो इंद्रियों से परे है, इंद्रियातीत सुख है, वो क्या है? तो उन्होंने बताया कि जो हम उपसंपदा लेते हैं तो कहते हैं कि हमने बान प्राप्त करने के लिए उपसंपदा ले रहे हैं, तो वो जो है उसी को अल्टीमेट हैप्पीनेस कहते हैं, जो इंद्रियातीत सुख है। और वो संखारों के प्रति किसी की अपनी तृष्णाओं के प्रति त्याग करने से आता है, लेटिंग गो से आता है। और वो कोई चीज़ नहीं है जो हमको अटेन करनी है, क्योंकि जो प्योर कॉन्शियसनेस है, विज्ञानम निदर्शनम, उसका स्वभाव ही ऐसा है जो कि हमेशा उपलब्ध है, लेकिन हम उसे देख नहीं पाते क्योंकि हम भ्रमों में और संस्कारों में उलझे रहते हैं। तो साधना जो है लेटिंग गो की है, कुछ अवेयर, कुछ अटेन करने की नहीं है। ये बार बार अनुपम ने कहा। उन्होंने ये भी क्वेश्चन किया कि मैं कह रहा हूँ कि जो शुद्ध चेतना है, प्योर अवेयरनेस, वो डेथलेस है, वो हमारा असली नेचर है, तो इसको भी ग्रैस्प करके ये नहीं कहना चाहिए कि मैं परफेक्ट हूँ, वो दूसरी तरह की अति हो जाएगी, क्योंकि वो उसमें मैं का भाव नहीं, उसमें अनात्म चीज़ें हैं। दूसरा प्रश्न था कि इंट्यूटिव अवेयरनेस और को हम कैसे सामंजस्य करें उसका अपने संसार में नॉर्मल जीवन से और फ्री विल से काम करने से। तो उन्होंने बताया कि मेडिटेशन में हम सिर्फ अवेयरनेस को ही ट्रस्ट करते हैं, और जो जहाँ तक संखारा का सवाल है, जो सामान्य जीवन में इस्तेमाल करने वो करने चाहिए, लेकिन वो भी हमें ये समझना चाहिए कि वो भी कंडीशनड ही हैं, प्रोग्राम्ड हैं। और सक्काय दिट्ठी के लेवल पे, अपने लेवल पे तो फ्री विल है, लेकिन वास्तव में क्या है, वो तो शुद्ध चेतना ही है। जैसे उन्होंने एक और उदाहरण दिया कि वो कुछ कॉलेज में पढ़ते थे तो अलजेब्रा की कोई प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं हो रही थी, फिर उन्होंने छोड़ दिया उसको, और जब सुबह उठे तो फिर फ्रेश माइंड से देखा तो इंट्यूटिवली उनको पता चल गया कैसे सॉल्व करना है। तो इंट्यूटिव अवेयरनेस का सामान्य जीवन में भी लाभ हो सकता है। तीसरा प्रश्न था कि जब हम कहते हैं मन शांत हो जाता है और अवेयरनेस को अवेयरनेस में ही रेस्ट करने लगती है, तो एकदम साइलेंस हो जाती है, तो उस समय हमको इन्वेस्टिगेट करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए? तो आपने कहा कि वो अवेयरनेस खुद ही डिसाइड कर लेगी, आपको कुछ इसके बारे में डिसाइड करने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। ये बात और उन्होंने कही कि हाँ, वो साइलेंस कई बार होती है तो फ्राइटनिंग होती है, तो इसलिए शायद लोग उससे सोचते हैं निकलें किसी तरह से। और अपना उन्होंने अनुभव बताया कि जब उन्हें इस तरह का अनुभव हुआ तो वो फर्श पे लेट के रोने लगे थे कि मुझसे ये नहीं होगा, क्योंकि वो साइलेंस बहुत भारी पड़ रही थी। उनका हमारा जो प्रोग्रामिंग है, जो चली आ रही है जन्म जन्मांतरों से, वो इमोशंस की है, और इस तरह का एकदम शांत रहना थोड़ा दिक्कत हो सकती है। तो सवाल था कि मैं कैसे मालूम पड़े कि मुझे प्रोग्रेस हो रही है? तो उन्होंने कहा प्रोग्रेस का कंसेप्ट ही जो है वो मैं के भाव के साथ आता है, तो इसको हमें छोड़ देना चाहिए, क्योंकि जैसे हम सांस लेते हैं तो फिर छोड़ते भी हैं, प्रोग्रेस होगी कुछ हद तक, फिर नीचे भी जाएगा, वो मुख्य बात नहीं है। मुख्य बात ये है कि हम अवेयरनेस पे ट्रस्ट करें, उस पर विश्वास रखें, क्योंकि सभी कंडीशन चाहे वो प्रोग्रेस की हो या ना हो, वो इम्परमानेंट है और बदलती रहती है। पांचवा था कि आपको चाहे ने कोई चिट्ठी लिखी थी जिसमें नहीं आगे बढ़ना, ना पीछे जाना, ना बाएं ना दाएं, उसका क्या तात्पर्य है? तो उन्होंने संक्षेप में बताया कि वो उनका जो मैसेज था, चिट्ठी थी, उन्होंने अभी भी संभाल के रखी हुई है। उसका तात्पर्य इस तरह से समझ सकते हैं कि वो कॉन्शियसनेस की ओर मेरा ध्यान दिला रहे थे, कि जो कि अनित्य नहीं है वो और अनशेकेबल है। तो उसके लिए उदाहरण के लिए उन्होंने समझाया इस कन्फ्रम के लिए कि क्या मान लीजिए आपको कहा जाए कि आप अपनी तरफ चलिए, तो क्या कैसे चलेंगे? आपको अपनी तरफ चलने में कुछ करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है ना। तो उस तरह से एक उस दृष्टांत से उन्होंने कहा, और उन्होंने कहा कि हमें इस तरह के जो अनशेकेबल डिलीवरेंस है हार्ट की या कॉन्शियसनेस के बारे में, इनको आइडियल्स, कई बार हम इस तरह की चीज़ को प्रेफरेंस में आइडियल्स की तरफ सोचते हैं कि हम कोई आइडियल बना दिया है और उससे हमको संतुष्टि मिल जाएगी, वैसा होता नहीं है, क्योंकि आइडियल्स इमोशंस नहीं हैंडल कर सकते। उन्होंने कम्युनिज्म का उदाहरण दिया कि उसकी आइडियल्स हैं और बड़े अच्छे आइडियल हैं कि सब बराबर हैं, कोई गरीब नहीं, कोई अमीर नहीं, वेल्थ शेयर करनी चाहिए। लेकिन इस अच्छे आइडियल को भी इम्पोज करने के लिए जब बहुत टिरानिकल मेथड यूज़ किया तो उसका दुष्परिणाम ही हुआ, क्योंकि कर्म कर्म सिद्धांत है, जैसे हमारे साधन होंगे वैसा ही उसका उसका रिजल्ट आएगा। तो आप देखते हैं कम्युनिज्म का रशिया में क्या उत्तर आया, क्या रिजल्ट आया। और 5 शीलों के बारे में भी अगर इस तरह से ट्रेनिंग के हिसाब से करेंगे तो अच्छा नहीं होगा। छठा सवाल था कि क्या हम सो जाते हैं तब भी कॉन्शियस रहते हैं? तो मैंने कहा हाँ, क्योंकि सो जाते हैं तो हम मर थोड़ा ना जाते हैं। सो जाने में गहरी नींद में होते हैं तो हमारी इंद्रियां काम नहीं कर रही होती, क्योंकि आराम कर रही हैं, इंद्रियों पे कोई संपर्क नहीं हो रहा, तो इसलिए चित्त शांत रहता है। सामान्यतः इंद्रियों पे संपर्क होता रहता है कुछ ना कुछ खटपट के कारण मन में बेहलचल होती रहती है, इसलिए हमें शांति उतनी नहीं मिल पाती। फिर उन्होंने स्वप्न के और वेकिंग स्टेट के बारे में बताया कि वो एक जैसे ही हैं, क्योंकि वेकिंग स्टेट में भी जो चीज़ें हैं वो इल्यूजरी हैं, बदलती रहती हैं। उसमें जब तक हम सेल्फ के इल्यूजन में पड़े रहते हैं तो वो इल्यूजन और वेकिंग ड्रीम का इल्यूजन एक जैसा ही है। 7वां प्रश्न था कि भावना किसे कहते हैं? तो उन्होंने बताया भावना का स्ट्रेट तात्पर्य साधना से है, क्योंकि जैसे का भगवान की शिक्षा को कहा जाता है, वो कहते थे पहले दान का अभ्यास करें, फिर शील का, फिर भावना का। तो भावना से सामान्यतः तात्पर्य मेडिटेशन लिया जाता है। हालांकि उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि रिम्पोचे कहा करते थे कि तुम्हारी साधना तब से शुरू होगी जब तुम श्रोतापन बन जाओगे, तब तक तो अभ्यास ही शुरू हो रहा है। असली भावना तो तब से श्रोतापन की बात शुरू होती है। थोड़ा ही समझ है तो मेत्ता का थोड़ा अभ्यास कर लेते हैं। संक्षेप में ही अपनी मेत्ता चांट को इस्तेमाल करते हैं। पहले अपने प्रति, अपनी चिंताओं, अपनी परेशानियों, मन की बेचैनियों से दूर होने की शुभकामना। अवेरोमि अव्यापंजोमि अनिगोमि सुखी अत्तानं परिहरामि। अब अपने प्रियजनों के प्रति उनको याद करके, चित्रण करके मन में मम माता पितु आचार्या च ज्ञातिमित्ता च सह ब्रह्मचारिणो च अविराहोन्तु अव्यापञ्जाहोन्तु अनिगाहोन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु। आरक्षा देवता, भूमट्ठा देवता, रुक्खट्ठा देवता, आकाशट्ठा देवता, अविराहोन्तु अव्यापञ्जाहोन्तु अनिगाहोन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु। समस्त प्राणियों के प्रति, सम्मे सत्ता, सम्मे पाना, सम्मे भूता, सम्मे पुंगला, सम्मे अत्ता भाव परियापन्ना, सम्माइत्यो, सम्मे पुरिसा, सम्मे अरिया, सम्मे अनरिया, सम्मे देवा, सम्मे मनुष्या, सम्मे विनिपातिका, अवीरा होन्तु, अव्यापञ्जा होन्तु, अनिगा होन्तु, सुखीयतानं परिहरन्तु। इन मैत्री की तरंगों को शरीर में अनुभव करते हुए चारों तरफ फैलाते हैं अपने आप। सहगतेन चेतसा एकं दिशं परित्वा विहरति, तथा द्वितीयं, तथा तृतीयं, तथा चतुर्थं, त्रियुद्धं मदोतिरियं संवदि संबद्धताय संबंध युद्धं मदोसिरियं संबंधि संबद्धताय संभावन्तं लोकम, सभी लोगों में प्राणियों के प्रति और अपने प्रति सभी दिशाओं में मैत्री को व्याप्त चित्त करते हैं, सभी दिशाओं को मैत्री से व्याप्त करते हैं। और इस तरह से करते हैं कि हम कह सकें मेत्ता सहगतेन चेतसा विपुलेन महंगतेन अपमानेन अवेरेन व्यापज्येन भरित्वा विहरति। हम ये कह सकें कि मैं विपुल महान असीम निर्वैर द्वेष रहित मैत्री संपन्न चित्त से व्याप्त कर विहार करता हूँ। थोड़ी देर इसका अभ्यास करते हैं शांत होकर। हर दिशा में देखते हुए, ध्यान करते हुए, जहाँ जहाँ जिस जिसको हम जानते हो उस दिशा में उनको चित्रण करके मैत्री से व्याप्त कर सकते हैं उस दिशा को। देवता सर्वबुद्धानुभावेन सदा सुद्धि भवन्तु मे भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वधर्मानुभावेन सदा सुद्धि भवन्तु ते भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वसङ्घानुभावेन सदा सुद्धि भवन्तु ते। अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादेमि। स्वागतो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि। सुपठिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो